Well, welcome back. We're going to follow on from the previous panel discussion, which was about smart buildings and the technologies that are being used at the Finland Pavilion during Expo 2020. And we're going to now pick up on one of those themes, which was the property maintenance side of smart buildings, and particularly the digitalisation of property maintenance. So we have a half an hour live stream discussion with two experts. We have Veikko Martiskainen, who is the head of international operations at Granlund. Granlund provides building maintenance software and building management system. And we have Hasin Tergini, who's business development director for FM and facilities management technical advisor at Sraco. So we've got somebody from the tech side and somebody from the actual facilities management side. And we're going to look at the issue of digitalising property maintenance operations. If you have questions, I really do encourage you to submit them, because this is going to be a very engaging conversation, I know, from our warm-up discussion. Veikko, if I can start with you then. So digital twins have been emerging in the construction sector for the past 2 or 3 years. The development of BIM, the creation of digital twins, not fully established, but we're getting there. How do they help property owners? I've always seen them talked about in terms of delivering a construction project, but where does it fit into the property maintenance side of things?
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here, and nice to take part of this panel conversation. So yes, so I would say also that digital twins are emerging in the project construction, but then the what is the case and why should you engage with this? I think the simple solution is to make your life easier. And how does it benefit and how does it make your life easier? Increases the productivity, the quality of your FM services, but this way, the well-being of end users of the building, and this increases, of course, the value of your properties and your core business. So that would be the simple aim, because it's valuable for your core business and increases the property value.
Okay, that's quite a simple sort of answer to the question. It makes your life better and increases your asset value and asset performance. How does it work then? So you've got, in my understanding of digital twins, your architect designs a building, the contractor builds it, and they record it, and then they hand it over to the client. Presumably for the property maintenance side, you need things like sensors and things to be attached to the physical asset for it to feed into the digital asset. How does that work? Is that part of your job as the software company, or does the owner do that?
Correct. So practically, I have nearly 30 years experience of this business and where it has started. First of all, digitalizing the maintenance operations. So to make everything digital, and then where this digital information is coming from. One side is, yes, as you did explain, the projects that all designers, they create more and more data. And then you are investing hundreds of millions in huge, big investments. And then the information that you are generating is very seldomly used properly in the facility maintenance and facility management phase. And this is where we have really much targeted how to make the data flow easier, to ensure that you are capable of using the data, but not only the static information of your technical assets and devices, but also the 3D geometry, the space model, of the properties. And why I think this is important is that when the amount of data is increasing in the construction phase, but also in the facility management phase, since there are these kind of like sensors creating this information. Where does this lead? It leads that kind of like your standard old solutions are not capable of kind of like managing this type of this huge increasing amount of information. You need new ways of approaching this. Okay, first you need to have the data flow ensured, but then also when you have the 3D space model, it's possible to visualize the information kind of like coming from the buildings, the operations that you are having, and then kind of like the IoT information. And this is where we have a kind of like complete solution, how to get the data, not only from the project, but also how to utilize the IoT information that buildings are kind of like creating more and more nowadays.
Okay, well, thank you, Veikko. So, you've set out the case very well for the benefits and the technical side of it. Of course, the key sort of element is the application and the usage of it. And so that takes us on to the actual facilities management side of the people that are using the platform and the data. And has seen you are responsible for facilities management technology advisor at Sraco. Perhaps you could just describe, I don't imagine in my head that smart technology or virtual twins or digital twins is a big part of FM. I'm obviously wrong. But how important, perhaps you can tell us a bit about Sraco, but also how important is smart technology in your business in the Middle East?
Yeah, thank you, Richard. Actually, I'm working for a very well-established facilities management here in the Kingdom of Saudi. And one of the elements which they took big interest in and they believe and strongly believe it will help, the progression and the development in how we manage our facilities and how we manage our contracts to a certain extent, where technology and digital, technology is truly actually transforming our business and the way how we are managing our projects. The digital transformation actually here in the kingdom is expected to be increasingly crucial and very competitive, and will play a big part in the economy and part of the diversification of the new vision of the kingdom as well. So in order for you to be considered a well facilities management service provider and a major player, you have to be up to date with innovation and technology. This technology is helping us a lot simply by, for example, just imagine here, I'll take you into a little process where I have a bunch of engineers, HVAC or electrical, mechanical. They are basically working across, the country. I can just, pick up my handheld device and open my app and basically send them a request, a job request, which, can go to them straight and they will pick it up wherever they are. Not only that, they will pick it up with maybe some information which could be missing. And because they are on site, they can effectively just take a picture or photo of where they are and the problem they're facing, and straight away they can respond to the job and to delivering the service. So in hindsight and in terms of actually the importance of technology that is bringing to the services that we are providing, it's making our life. I mean, as Veiko mentioned at the beginning, it makes our life easy. Yes, true. From one element and one aspect, but also there's a certain elements which I'm sure we can talk more about it later when it comes to cost saving and how we actually manage our assets throughout.
Thank you for that, Haseen. I'm curious. So you talked at the beginning of your comments about the digital transformation in Saudi Arabia, and it is part of the diversification story and also part of the localization story, building local capacity in the kingdom. But I also hear about the lack of skills. The sort of, whether it's data scientists or digital skills. You just described a scenario where you have the information on your sort of centralized app, and you can call out teams and get them to go to site, and they can upload pictures of what skills do you require from your, do you just need the data skills in your head office, or do your guys on site, do they have to have different skills to be able to deal with digital technology? If they find something on site is different to what is in the system, they have to sort of make the amendments, don't they? So what sort of skills do you now require, and has it changed?
No, you touched actually on a very important point here, Richard, which relates to the skills and the ability to having skilled people to perform and execute the services that we provide. When it comes to the skills, I would say definitely at a high level, yes, data scientist is definitely it needs quite a lot of input there and development. But when we talk at a different level, when we talk about the engineers and the technicians, obviously when you team up with a very longest established and experienced, for example, CAFM or CMMS service provider and solutions, like, for example, our partnership with Granlund, they come up with what we call a comprehensive training,
right,
where actually the team, before we can deploy them, we can actually make them use the technology, we need to make sure that they take part into the phase of training them well, because again, data has to be accurate, training has to be accurate and very up to speed. And also we don't want to kind of miss out, because as you can appreciate, Richard, time is money.
Yeah, of course. And I guess actually one of the aspects of this is about the actual interface with the end users. Whether it's on their phone or their or a tablet or whatever, that has to be sort of very thought through, doesn't it, to make it usable? Okay, Veiko, if I can come back to you at Granlund. So you're providing the platform and the data systems and the sort of data tools that Sraco and companies like them can use for their FM work. Are you seeing much demand for this in the Middle East? So the money is not traditionally a problem out here, although obviously people are always tight with their budgets. Is there a lot of hunger to spend a bit more upfront to get the data technology in to have lower overall running costs?
Definitely, we have identified the huge interest in this, and I would say that at the moment there are the first early adopters. So I would imagine that kind of like this will be mainstream in few years. But at the moment, there are the first early adopters.
Sorry to interrupt, Veiko. Those early adopters, can you group them? Are they government companies like oil companies, or are they private real estate developers, or is it residential buildings? Who are the early adopters in the Middle East?
They are governmental, and then they are kind of like the high-end property investors and developers who I can see that are on the move at the moment. So kind of like, since there is not like ready-made solutions for the market, people are still trying to figure out kind of like what does smart building solution mean? What is BIM to FM? What is digital twins? So it's kind of like the market is still on the learning stage in this, where kind of like our approach is that what is key here, and it's data. Kind of why do we have sensors? Is that they need to create data. Often what is seen is that people start to think that technology is the solution, kind of like investing in technology. But kind of like I think with this approach you go a little wrong. Technology is there to create data. Then there is how you will utilize the data that is created. And I can see that here is a lot to do, kind of like how to improve, because kind of first of all, when you digitalize your processes, then it's a cultural change. Like Hasan did mention that it requires proper training. And then you start to create more data. And if you don't kind of like change your organization in the mode of starting to utilize the data, you will not kind of like get all of these benefits. So kind of like the market focus at the moment is quite a lot on investing on the technology, where we try to bring in that kind of like, why are you investing on technology? There's the need to how to utilize the information in your decision making, and kind of like only by reacting, whether it is to improve your maintenance processes or identify how your buildings are performing. It's very much kind of like getting the data, analyzing the data, and reacting. So this is actually the process of kind of like how to utilize data and how you integrate your processes, your kind of like operations into this process. And it's this is the experience that we have. And as Hasan did mention that we are starting from the first ladders there, but still there's the possibility to kind of like create the full-scale smart building solution. But sometimes kind of like the requirements are too demanding. Customers want to have perfect solution, but I think kind of the smarter way is to take first maybe some baby steps.
I can see Hasan nodding there, and I mean what you're saying is it's a holistic change. It's not just a bolt-on bit of technology. It's the whole mindset has changed. So Hasan, from as an advocate for smart buildings, in your opinion, do building owners in this region and operators understand what they're getting themselves into?
Good question, Richard. Actually, some actually do understand what they're getting themselves into, and some unfortunately can be what I call inundated with information with regard to the technologies that are available out there, and sometimes it can make them actually take the wrong path or the wrong turn to decide what actually technology, what system, what process they should have and introduce to their properties or to their buildings. Having said that, on the other hand, we are actually facing quite a lot of what I call a lack of understanding exactly what this technology can do for you and what it can achieve to you. Also, there's another element which relates to the cost. Sometimes, unfortunately, people are kind of like relating to this technology as it's just a heavy burden, and it's additional cost for me. It's an additional cost center for me, and I cannot afford it. This is something that actually what we have done, working actually in partnership with Granlund, is we work hand in hand with the building owners and the clients who would wish to introduce any technology that can benefit them into how they can manage their properties and how they can basically add value
That's an interesting point. I was going to ask when you were talking there, for building owners and operators, there's a lot to take in. And
yes.
So, they're the ones being asked to specify this stuff, but they don't have the, the background in this, and it's a lot to take in. Yes. Is that, should they really be coming to their FM provider or the person that's going to be using it and let them make the decision? Who makes the decision about what system and the cost? And, is it currently the wrong person making the decision? Should it be the FM company?
Very good point, actually, Richard.
I know that you're not neutral on this one.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, actually. You said something very, very, very important here, which relates to who makes the decision, of course. From our side, look, we approach it as a service provider. When it comes to deciding on the system they would wish to have, we will actually lay down on a table in complete transparency what are their needs, okay? Does these needs will actually meet what I call their goals and their objectives? What are they, what do they intend to meet and achieve? And then discuss actually in details what this technology can do to them, what sort of part of features of this technology they should have at this stage, some other features they can have later, at a later stage. So we can make it also cost effective and they don't feel like it's a huge cost. But again, sometimes we are facing challenges where the building owners, they said, no, I want to decide on the technology I want to introduce in my property. And when they do that without consulting, for example, a facilities management service provider who comes with the expertise as to which, for example, CAFM system or CMMS they should have or they should pursue, they should basically purchase. This is something that it's still kind of like creates a little bit of a long debate as who's supposed to have it. As a service provider from our side, we always offer actually to have the system and to have actually the CAFM system incorporated in the proposals, right, for the services that we will provide, meaning that we are bringing the technology already embedded in the service that we wish to provide for you. We sometimes, on the other hand, we face the challenge where the owners say, no, we already have our own technology. We already have our own system.
Yeah.
It's not the end. However, we always talk about the opportunity to interface, integrate, and this discussion, actually, we had a long discussion with Granlund on how we can help, some of our building owners and clients to make things actually feel like seamless in terms of interfacing and integrating.
I've got a couple of more questions for you, Hassan, before I go back to Veiko. You mentioned about costs there. So obviously the argument here is if you spend a bit of money now on the smart technology, your cost savings over the life cycle of a building, which could be 20, 30, 40 years, will be massive. Is it possible to quantify? Do you have any numbers that can give us an idea of what level of cost savings there are? I guess you have to do it over, say, a 5-year period or something. But what sort of savings can a building owner make?
Yeah, to be honest with you, we approach each building as to per their entirety and their requirement. And as you said, we have adopted a methodology on how we can quantify the savings to the building owners and to the clients. In hindsight, we work along between 3 to 5 years, and we can give them what I call at the beginning an indicative rate in terms of you can save anything between 10, 12 to 15%. So here again, you have to leave it to the expert right? Who can actually justify the needs to have this technology, and also to make sure that this technology will definitely save you money, and we can actually demonstrate that in the process by working very close with our clients and the building owners. Sometimes, the issue. I just want to add one point here. Sorry,
Sure.
Sometimes, unfortunately, the challenges we face is they just the building owners and the clients, they want to see the return on investment very quick and prompt.
Yeah. No, I can imagine that's the bit. It's like a lot of these things. When it's a long-term saving, it's very difficult to sell when people have got short-term budgets to think about.
Yes.
So I understand that. That must be a very difficult challenge to overcome. There's one other question I have for you before I go back to Veikko, which is about the carbon footprint. So everyone nowadays is talking about energy efficiency and reducing CO2 emissions.
Yeah.
I mean, this may not be possible to answer, but do you have any sense of the level of energy savings or CO2 emission reductions that you can deliver through smart property maintenance?
I mean, to be honest with you, Richard, I mean, the buildings definitely, in overall and its all entirety, buildings can actually account globally up to 40% of GHG. But things have changed, Richard, and things have changed rapidly for a lot of organizations, a lot of building owners, a lot of construction companies to adopt actually a much greener approach by introducing smart technologies, at early stage. There's an element of raising a much more greater environmental awareness, which again for us to quantify in terms of the CO2 reduction and cuts. They have been, we have some proven records to show that we can achieve that by adopting and introducing, for example, the smart city, smart building, smart and intelligent transportation. I mean, we are even calculating, for example, for the time being, where our vehicles are traveling up and down the country, and tracking their movement to make sure that the infrastructure and the technology we use is making them actually reduce the level of carbon.
If I can sorry to cut you off there, Hassan. I've just been given a sort of final few minutes warning, a 2-minute warning. I want to come to Veikko just to ask about the outlook for the market in this region. I mean, how do you see the demand for digital building operations developing in this region?
I see the potential huge, because if we think kind of like what type of properties there is, the investments, the type of properties and the way how they are built and kind of like the design conducted, yes, they are very huge, and there's already kind of like the technology. It's more kind of like how do you make the data process, kind of data flow smooth, how you create the culture of starting to utilize the information. We had the interesting conversation that who should own the data or the solutions. Kind of like two simple solutions. Either it's the owner, operator, or the service provider. Kind of like the tradition has been that it's usually the service provider, because they are running the services. It's quite easy to outsource the data management and to outsource the services. But once you create BIM models, BIM information, you utilize that in your digital twins and you integrate with IoT data. Then when you have this platform, it's very difficult to outsource that, because it relates so directly to the data flow. So as we say, data is future oil. You don't want to kind of like outsource your valuable assets, or everyone knows, if you know anything about business, that something, if it has value, you need to keep it kind of like as your core competence.
Veikko, thank you. I'm sorry to sort of bring it to an end suddenly. I mean, we were just getting into a massive area there. Hassan and Veikko, thank you so much for your time and your expertise. Now, we just finished off talking about data there and that kind of the management of it. The next session, if you click on the schedule icon, which you can see at the top of your screen, the next session is an expert interview on intelligent smart city infrastructure. So it follows on exactly from what Hassan and Veikko were just talking about. And it's an exclusive interview with Jacques Vermeulen, who is the Director of Future Cities at Nokia. So Nokia is one of the giant names to come out of Finland, and we're in the era of 5G. Nokia is going to lead all of that. And following on from what we just talked about, smart cities, smart buildings, the next interview will tell you all about it. So click on the schedule tab and then select the 225 expert interview, intelligent smart city infrastructure. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next panel. Thank you very much, Hassan and Veikko. Thank you to both of you.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you. Pleasure being here. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.